So
Yeah, what would you say that being was for someone like Saint Francis or Saint Bonaventure or Saint Clare for that matter, or even a SCOTUS? Like what was being? What does that mean to be, particularly as it pertains to prayer?
yeah, I don't, I think sometimes we overly romanticize Francis and Clare, quite honestly, as if, they just kind of woke up and had this ecstatic, vision of God or something. But I think you had to really work hard at it. I mean, when you read Francis, you get the sense that this little Italian guy got really annoyed with people. He really didn't like lepers. He had his likes and dislikes, and he really had to train himself. So what I see in Francis and Clare is a strong will. They were very strong willed, and they really set their minds on loving God, on this gospel way of life, following the footprints of Christ, and that's what they were going to do, no matter what. And their minds weren't distracted by Facebook and social media and television and everything else. They had and whatever distractions came into their life, they made sure they got them out of their lives. So I think Francis, again, we see in the biographies, he struggled with his body, his sexual desires, probably his love for Claire. Was that just a platonic love? And I'm sure she had the same thing. I mean, they were real people and they had, real desires, and that's the good. And so prayer is what helped them kind of come back. Well, what am I about? Like, what do I really, really want? And it's about desire. So prayer is fundamentally about desire. And that's what I see both in Francis and in Clare. Claire's letters to Agnes of Prague, really are about what do you desire, Agnes? Set your gaze, set your heart on this love of God, shown to us in this cross. And that's what I find today is Franciscan prayer can help resituate, how would I say, reorganize ourselves, kind of retune our GPS signals,
Mm.
because our desires are all over the place. It's like, I want to be famous. I want people to love me. I want $1 million. I want, and I just want everything. And they're like, well, maybe just try one thing, God. And then everything else from there will find its own, order. And that's what Franciscan prayer is about. It's about ordering the desires based on what is our deepest desire, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that question written down actually, like how do desire and prayer go together?
Huge.
Yeah.
I think desire actually needs much more attention than what our minds are doing. I'd like to shift our modern attention away from what we know to what we desire. And I think because desire, it, from there flows everything else. And I think our postmodern world is, because everything now is accessible and readily visible, we want it all. And that's why we have a dissolution, in fact, dispersion of desires. And we can't find ourselves. We're kind of lost. We're all over the place. We can't really figure out who God is. So we have all these culture wars and, political wars, and we want to be gods and all this kind of stuff. It's a mess, really.
Mm.
If desire gets flattened out or dispersed all over the place, the rest of us is going to be really a mess. And I think we can learn from Francis and Clare what it means to reset the button of desire. Like, um, one of the lines from Francis that always spoke to me is when he opens the gospel. It's shortly after he experiences this God in his life and has this conversion experience. He goes into the church and he opens the gospel and he reads, if you wish to be perfect, go sell what you own, etc. He said, this is what I want with my whole
Mm.
heart. This is what I want with my whole heart. And that's our question. Can we say, this is what I want with my whole heart? Like, everything about me will be devoted and focused to this. And the question is, what is this? That's our question. What is the this of our lives? Is it God? Is it my family? Is it God family? Is it God family job? Is it God family job and the Yankees winning? Is it God family job and the Knicks winning? What is it? What's the this of our lives? And once we get to that, the this and that, we'll be able to know that which is most important for us. So it's not that these are exclusions, it's that they're ordered. The thisness of our lives orders everything else. Um,
Yeah. How do you like, what does it look like today to quote reset the button of desire? And as you said, get back to thisness, and then also answer the question of what this actually is.
yeah,
Because I can, sometimes I think that this is something, but it's all ego, and that desire is coming from maybe not a bad place, but it's coming from a place that it's not the deepest desire. It's not this. So
right.
what would you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, I think a few things. One is that we definitely need to slow down. We're way, this is no great insight here. Everyone's talking about it today. We're on the treadmill, in the left lane on the speedway, going to the same red light that, the person driving 20 miles an hour is going to. Um, we need to slow down and we need to unplug. I mean, we are bombarded. We just live in this information milieu. So we're constantly being bombarded by information. And I think we're losing the sense of self, the self of the self, or the God self, or that deepest sense of who we are, where that button of desire really is, that place of the heart. So that would be number one: slowing down, unplugging, and just being attentive to that place of the heart within. The second is, what are we willing to sacrifice for that which we desire? So we don't do well on sacrifice, because we live in the age of greed and need. It's like, if I want it, I'm going to have it, and we want it all. And of course, we never have it all. So we're always living in the anxiety of never having enough. But if I say, for example, I want to love in a way that makes God visible and real in our lives. Say that's my desire, or maybe that's too lofty. So you say, well, I want to really help another person, without any recompense. I don't want any reward. I really just want to help another person be human. And well, what are we willing to sacrifice? On a very common level, that could be anything from like the poor person on the corner asking for money to, the person trying to cross the street in a wheelchair. And those are simple ways we can help people. But like, how much are we willing to go the extra mile, say, for forgiveness? Many people in our age, lots of disputes and oppositions. I mean, people are telling me now, because of the politics in our country, we have pro Trump, anti Trump, and families can't get together anymore because they can't talk civilly. And they're Catholic. I'm like, wow, okay, that's a problem. So what do we really want? Do we have to be right all the time? Do we have to actually justify our opinions, our judgments? Can we let them go? Can we really meet one another on a different level? So sacrifice can take on a whole different, all sorts of forms. And I think, one of the highest things is that we are certainly not willing to sacrifice our comforts and our securities for the sake of the larger earth, for the sake of the poor, to be inclusive, to be, in a sense, in solidarity with all creatures. So setting our desires is a huge step for us. Going from that which I experience most within me, what I really want, to what I'm willing to sacrifice, to in a sense perfect that desire. And then in the end, what am I willing to spend of my own life? Like, am I willing to give my own life for the sake of another? Or what Francis would say, his desire for martyrdom. And that just seems like that's really wacky for our American culture, right? That's like, okay, that's enough. And yet, we're all going to die, right? That's just a fact of life. That's just part of life. The question is not that we're going to die, is that what are we willing to die for? And I think that's all part of our desire.